and my patience and every word you say to me is nothing but wasted. I'm tired of those lies you tell me. Lies you tell me.
All right, everybody, it is Steve with Real Progressives. Folks, you know, I have fought for years, and you've watched me. You've got video of the truth. I have fought for years to try and help the Green Party understand economics. We've provided countless experts. We've spent incredible amounts of money and time traveling back and forth to events, trying to help the Green Party realize its potential to be a landing place for the progressive movement. The Green Party rejected pretty much everything. And along comes Howie Hawkins. And Howie Hawkins has got probably the worst platform for the pay-fors I have ever seen in my life. It is that bad. If you think I'm messing around, look for yourself. He talks about every possible right-wing Austerian idea of taxes for this and taxes for that, and raising taxes on everything across the board. Tax. Pay for stuff. We're going to close loopholes. We're going to tax this. We're going to tax. And you think to yourself, holy God, have you learned nothing? Is it just to be recalcitrant? Is it just to say we don't care about being legitimate? We're not trying to actually build a party based in truth. We're just collecting people, man. What is the deal? Folks, I'd be heartbroken if I wasn't so used to this kind of nonsense. But I've gotten to the point where I've got calluses on me now, and I expect this. But Howie's platform is horrific. It is full of austerity. Slashing spending here, slashing it there, slashing it all over the place, not realizing that cutting spending doesn't free up money, doesn't create new money by slashing spending somewhere. You actually have to have a spending bill to make up for it. Now, I would say, hey, you know what? People that don't understand are going to make mistakes. You can't give the Green Party that because they've been taught, they've been told, and they chose to reject it. They chose to reject it, outright chose to reject it. And so now progressives have nowhere legitimate to land. Right now, progressives are in a wilderness. The Democratic Party's seeking ways to screw them over. Movement for a People's Party's in bed with Scott Santons and what's his name, friggin' Peter Joseph. They've gone completely the wrong direction. Over here now you've got the Green Party who's just doubling down on austerity, neoliberal nonsense. Folks, it's deeply depressing. And while all this is going on, the real war, the real revolutionary stuff is happening in the MMT community as they're fighting against Republicans who are trying to, pass some sort of a resolution to denounce MMT. And you've got nonstop hit pieces by Mises and by Mercatus Institute and by all the different publications are literally trying to tear it down. But no, MMT just like flex, just when you got the right answers, you got the right answers. When you're correct, you're correct. When you're wrong, if you didn't know better, it's good for a subtle rebuke. We'll fix that. But if you're doubling down on dumb, well, somebody done got to smite you for that. There's no excuse. There's no excuse to allow this war, and it is a war, folks. It is the war. Neoliberalism desperately needs you to not understand how money works. Neoliberalism desperately needs a dumb population Neoliberalism desperately needs people to be chasing conspiracies and false bullshit rather than actually chasing the stuff that will get us what we need as people. These folks, the neoliberals out there, know what they're doing. It happens over and over again. It's not like some haphazard thing. Now they're sharpening their axe. They're ready to go, man. They're doing the Texas two-step on the progressive movement. They're knocking us out. I mean, dead serious. I want to talk about the things that not only how he screws up royally, but the rest of it screws up, and how badly we need to get our head out of our ass before this becomes a real Shakespearean tragedy, a Greek tragedy of epic proportions. Social Security doesn't need the cap raised. Social Security doesn't have a trust fund that has money stored in it that when, bad things are going on, Republicans stick their hand in the piggy bank and steal it out. That's not how it works. Republicans give you plenty of ammo. You don't need to start lying to make that work. Republicans do all kinds of stupid things. Let's not create a fake trust fund where there's all this money sitting there that people can pull out. That's not how it works. Even if you read the fine print, you realize that the trust fund is nothing more than a balance sheet just to show you how much you've paid into it. It doesn't mean anything because those payments, those FICA taxes, a federal fucking tax, are deleted. They're purged. When they're received, they're done. Lifting the cap, why? Did you think it would fund Social Security? Social Security is self-funding. But neoliberals going to do what neoliberals going to do. That's why Bill Mitchell came out and said most progressives are really neoliberals. Most Greens are neoliberals on bicycles. And he's right. The vast majority of us don't take the time to get to know this, and we're willing to allow people to die so that we can stay comfortable in our ignorance, so we can build our third parties, so we can go run off and do whatever it is we want to do. We're willing to allow the lie to stand because it's the easier, softer way. But it's a position of extreme privilege when you realize the death that austerity breeds. We talked about the job guarantee the other night and talked about how we could end wars and end the military stranglehold on the employer of last resort and get the poor kids away from having to enlist in the military to survive. You think that would resonate with these people? No, it doesn't. No. Nope. They got myths and legends to legislate to. They got to create scenarios instead of fighting the real war. Folks, listen, the real war is war enough. We don't need fake wars. We don't need tales from the fire pit. L. Randall Wray talked to Jill Stein at length. At length. Never got it. Ellis Winningham himself spoke with David Cobb. Never got it. We've had people over and over. Fidel Kaboob and Joe Firestone rewrote the Green Party's platform so that it was proper MMT. 95% of their national delegation rejected it outright. This is not subject to debate, really. This isn't like some new system to implement. This is how it is. And they've been lying to you like you wouldn't believe. It's not even funny. But yet there people are doubling down on stupid. Doubling down on austerity. And trying to make you think that they're fighting for you. Do you realize that whenever government cuts spending, we have recessions? Right now, they're trying to brag up that the economy is doing great. It's doing superb. Let me tell you something. The economy is buoyed up by a lot of private debt right now. And a lot of the jobs, they're gig economy jobs. We aren't talking about good quality jobs. We're not talking about peace and security. We're talking about temporary work. We're talking about folks that are one step away from being axed out of employment. There is no buffer between the hangman or the axeman, the guillotine, and the pending economic problems that are coming fast and hard. To support any candidate that doesn't have economic literacy on their side is a grave injustice to all of mankind. To suggest that a party that has no potential of winning the presidential election can create a platform that is founded in bullshit and lies, myths, tales from the fire pit, is a grave disservice to those progressives who desperately want a third party, but find themselves surrounded by charlatans with too much time on their hands, who are misleading them and leading them into hell. And by extension, stealing away the hope of other progressives. You know, right now we've got Bernie Sanders running. Bernie keeps getting bitch slapped because of his taking Hillary, signing up and supporting Hillary. Well, you know what? The fact of the matter is that every single person that runs in the Democratic Party signs a pledge up front that they will support the eventual nominee. Sanders is a man of integrity. He ran out there and went ahead, signed up, and guess what he did? We're all more aware. But you know what? The people with that little squirrel-level attention span are off chasing other shiny objects. QAnon anybody? Pedogate, Pizzagate, this gate, that gate, the other gate. Gotta end the private federal fucking reserve, man. Never mind the fact that the Federal Reserve is the nation's central bank spoken into existence by Congress. Never mind that. Because they didn't take the time to learn how this shit happens, so they decided they would create their own boogeyman. Damn it, if this isn't the Loch Ness Monster in economic terms. Go catch Sasquatch. Maybe find a Yeti. At some point in time, folks, it's going to need to matter more. But look at your headlines. MMT is in the headlines every day. This is not some passing fancy. The people that are fighting for MMT, we're not weak-willed, quick, easy, distracted people. No. Thank God we're not that kind of person. We stay focused on the prize. I consider it one of the most important parts of being an MMTer is not being diverted and distracted by bullshit. Call it the winner's mindset. Because you're actually fighting for the things that matter. Not getting spun around the axle with every current event that passes through. And that's why MMT is such a threat to these people. Because at the end of the day, neoliberalism can't survive under the light of MMT. As you realize how it really works, not the way you thought it worked, not the way they tell you it works, but the way it really works, you won't be able to look in the mirror anymore. You won't be able to put your head on the pillow at night. You won't be able to kiss your kids at night and tell them you love them, knowing that you've been lying by talking about taxes paying for spending, bonds paying for spending. When you do that, you know you're lying at this point. It costs you sleep. It costs you peace of mind. It makes you reconcile the fact that you've been lying to people. It makes you consider whether or not your integrity and character matter. When you sit there and you look at what's going on in the world today, the number one fight, the number one pushback is the stupid nonsense about, oh, this is communism or this is socialism. Get rid of the damn word. Who gives a shit about the word for a minute? It really comes down to the fact that they're trying to make you believe they can't afford it, that it's coming out of their tax dollar. You know this. This isn't new. I've only said it 1,000,000 times. You're getting ready to go into another presidential campaign and you're still screwing around playing games, sitting on your thumb and spinning. At what point in time does that start feeling like you're getting screwed? Or is that what you like? Are you enjoying being screwed? Are you that into your team sports that you don't care what they do? You know, I had visions of building a third-party coalition. I had visions of being a part of that. I had visions of hoping and praying, just dreams of progressives uniting together and taking over. The progressives can't stop being distracted. And worse, the wrong people, people that are distracting with neoliberal conspiracy bullshit, peddling freaking basic income, friggin' right-wing libertarian logic. And the Fed thing. Folks, they don't even know what the Fed does. But they want to end it. It's shameful. I'm not here to defend the Fed or end. I'm telling you how it works. The Fed neither has dollars nor doesn't have dollars. When Congress passes a bill, it tells the Fed, you will keystroke these things into the Treasury's account. And the Treasury will then spend that. It didn't come from your hard-earned tax dollars. It didn't come from bond sales. It didn't come from any of that. It came from keystrokes. Marking accounts up, marking accounts down. Why in the world would we keep saying this day in and day out? And not weak-willed, not passive, not, well, maybe that's how it works. No mealy mouth bullshit. I mean, we're straight up in your face, right up in your face and dish you. It's not, there's no, well, maybe I don't really know how this works. There's no indecision. We're telling you how it works. It's not because we're mean. We're pissed, but we're not mean. We're pissed because we're tired. There's a story about this guy named Ignaz Semmelweis. Now, Ignaz Semmelweis goes way back. This guy figured out accidentally that by pouring bleach on your hands, that it would stop crib death when they were giving birth to these, they were delivering babies and stuff like that. They went ahead and poured bleach because these guys worked with cadavers also. So when they stopped doing that, people were delivering babies. They had cadaver crap all over their fingers. And these women were dying because they would get horrible infections from dead people parts up inside them. And this guy comes up with a fact that says, hey, when we clean our hands with this stuff, good things happen. Well, the doctors didn't like that. They thought, oh man, if we admit that he's right, that means that all these deaths came from us. So long after his death, and the poor guy ended up crazy and insane and locked in an institution. But long after that, they realized that hand washing really was key to preventing these deaths. We're here as Ignaz Semmelweis telling you about how the economic system works. You have nothing to lose by accepting truth. You have nothing to lose by learning this stuff. You have everything to lose ignoring it. If you support parties, such as the Green Party, and you're not in there fighting like mad to change it, you're not doing anyone a service. Least of all your children, if you have them, or your countrymen and women, if you care about them. If you allow neoliberal bullshit, economic myths and lies run rampant through your party, you're guilty of the lie. You're carrying a lie. And that's a shameful place to be. That's a shameful place to be. There is much shame that goes with carrying that lie, because there's a lot of people that are dying in the name of that lie. And we usually blame the Republicans for it, because they're guilty as hell too. There's no excuse for a third party to start out with a broken leg and walk limping. You start with the truth, and you collect people with the truth, and you preach the truth, and you go out there and share the truth. You don't sit there and build a party on lies. Or you do, and then you become irrelevant. You become an irrelevant party. Right now, you've got two candidates up there that have an economic team worthy of mention. Now, mind you, I said two candidates that have an economic team, lest anybody get this screwed up in their head, which people tend to do. An economic team, the people that are the economic team that's backing them. I'm not saying the candidate. You can hate the candidate. But the economic team. You got two candidates with quality economic teams. You've got Bernie Sanders and you got Elizabeth Warren. That's it. The rest of them, they don't have anything. Neoliberal trash. Garbage economics. Now, I know you don't like Elizabeth Warren, because most progressives didn't like Elizabeth Warren, especially after she didn't support Bernie when the time was there that she could have helped swing the election. And the fact that you got her in that blue suit with the other lady, Hillary, in the blue suit, raising hands and cheering and chanting and so forth, that pretty much pushed Elizabeth Warren right out. The fact that she didn't go to No Dapple, she didn't go out there and help. Yeah, these are things that hurt her big time. But she got a good economic team. She's got good policy advisors. I got to give her credit. Some of her policies that have been coming out have been damn good. But that's irrelevant right now. What we're talking about is we the people, activists, fighting tooth and nail to save our lives. There is no chance of any meaningful legislation being passed without a firm, clear understanding of how economics works, period. This isn't subject to debate. This isn't subject to your feelings. Your feelings are literally irrelevant right now in this case. Whether you feel triggered by my attitude or my approach is irrelevant. The facts are, economics is simple, straightforward. The bottom line is the nation creates money every single time the Congress authorizes spending. Period. It's not subject to debate. It's not subject to your feels. And it doesn't matter how many times you read some really bad blog at 3 a.m. talking about the Fed. Doesn't matter how many Bitcoin you own. Doesn't matter how many ideas of some sort of a cryptocurrency you have in your head. None of it matters at this point. The United States government taxes in its dollar, and therefore that dollar is king. Doesn't matter if it's the world reserve currency. None of that matters. What matters is that we can do the things we need to do to survive. It'd be like showing up to a car accident, having the gift of being able to provide CPR to someone that is passed out, and choosing instead to cut their toenails. That's what ignoring the economics is, and letting that person die. That's what you're doing. Don't fool yourself. Don't even pat yourself on the back or cut yourself some slack. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's put up or shut up time. I'm tired of the thought police, and I'm tired of the tone police, and I'm tired of the people that allow this craziness to run rampant. Folks, this is real life. This is your life. This is your planet. This is for your children. You know, your kids that you're celebrating graduating high school right now, they're going to be suffering from a mountain load of student debt that is completely unnecessary. And your unwillingness to deal with this fact is your gift to your children. Not someone else's, yours. Because you refuse to learn this stuff and you refuse to fight like everything was on the line. But everything is indeed on the line. This recalcitrance, this ignorance, the belief that banks fund the government is self-funding. The government creates its unit of account. These things, we never run out of money. We can create as much of it as we want. Doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do, but we could. What matters is that we have the real resources to do everything we need to do, and we do. That's the thing. And the things that we don't have all the real resources for, we can acquire with simple and decidedly focused legislation. Transitions. I'm not joking here. This is the kind of stuff that should send you over the moon angry, raging, furious that you're being betrayed by your fellow countrymen and women for ignoring this stuff. You should be livid that your media is ignoring this stuff. You should be livid that your alternative media refuses to address this stuff. Livid with them for betraying the movement. You should be livid with every candidate that doesn't speak the truth. You should be talking to Bernie even about speaking the truth. Every one of these people needs to speak the truth. Our lives depend on it. This is where the real revolution is. You want a revolution? Here's one for you. We got to overthrow the orthodoxy in the academic studies. We got to overthrow the orthodoxy within the mainstream media. We got to overthrow the orthodoxy within the churches, within our sitcoms, you name it. There is no time to take a day off. There's no time to take time off and go wander off into conspiracy land. There's no time for it. This is the stuff that's literally killing our states. You want to talk about pensions at the state level. You want to talk about the water in Flint, Michigan. It all boils down to frickin' economics. And every time you ignore it, you condemn people to poison lead water. You do, not somebody else. You own it. It's time to look in the mirror and take accountability. Accountability for ignoring the most important thing. Progressives haven't failed because they didn't have good ideas. They failed because they've never been able to answer the question of how are you going to pay for it? Well, that answer is clear. It's been told by Stephanie Kelton. It's been told by Bob Hockett. It's been told by Fidel Kaboub. It's been told by every single person. Randy Ray, Warren Mosler, you name it. You only have yourself to blame if you choose to ignore this going forward. Our lives are in the balance whether you realize it or not. Whether you accept it or not, you realize it. You know deep down the situation around us is FUBAR. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to just take it and go down in flames with your children dying too? Or are you going to fight back? Are you going to fight against the lies they tell and make them tell the truth? You tell me. I'm done playing games, folks. I've been done. But now I'm done. Folks, you've been lied to. That's not your fault. That's their fault. Now, what you do now that you know the lie, well, that's on you. That's personal responsibility in the most true sense. Are you going to sit there and keep talking about taxes paying for things? Are you going to continue looking around for tax dollars to fund a Green New Deal? Healthcare? Or are you going to start owning the power of the purse and start taking care of the 99% in our planet? The real revolution is economics. Get in the fight. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Have a good night, everybody.